In the tranquil farmlands of Ashcroft, New York, where rolling meadows met dense forests, the Murphy homestead stood as a beacon of prosperity for over half a century. Yet, beneath its picturesque charm lay a lineage plagued by a chilling pattern. Between 1865 and 1910, every male heir of the Murphy family perished on his 21st birthday. 7 sons, 7 graves, and not a single explanation that could satisfy both reason and faith. The townsfolk whispered of curses, bad blood, and debts owed to dark forces. But as the years passed, these stories faded into uneasy silence. That is, until a leather-bound journal surfaced in 1987, hidden in the attic of the long-abandoned farmhouse. It belonged to Elias Murphy, the 4th son, whose obsessive writings revealed a legacy far more sinister than any superstition. The Murphy family's tale begins with Daniel Murphy, a weary Irish immigrant who fled famine-stricken Cork in 1860, seeking a new beginning in America. With barely 2 coins to his name and a flock of Galway sheep, Daniel's arrival in Ashcroft was met with a stroke of fortune, or so it seemed. A wealthy landowner, Aldous Penbrook, extended a lease for 200 acres of fertile land, priced so modestly it felt like a divine blessing. But the contract, signed in a dimly lit parlor filled with cryptic legal jargon, bound the Murphy bloodline in ways Daniel could never fathom. The papers spoke of generational commitments and legacy bonds, phrases dismissed by a desperate man eager to escape poverty. Little did he know, the ink had barely dried before the clock began ticking on his family's fate. For the first few years, life was generous to the Murphys. The wool trade flourished, and by 1865, Daniel and his wife Bridget had 4 sons and another on the way. But prosperity, in this case, was a prelude to tragedy. On April 9th, 1865, their eldest son Sean celebrated his 21st birthday. What was meant to be a day of joy turned catastrophic when the wooden footbridge Sean crossed daily gave way, sending him into the icy waters below. Witnesses were baffled. The bridge was sturdy, the weather calm, yet Sean's lifeless body was found hours later, neck snapped cleanly as if placed with deliberate care among the rocks. An accident, they said, a cruel twist of fate. But Bridget Murphy felt the first icy grip of dread tightening around her family. Over the next 2 decades, the pattern became undeniable. Liam Murphy, the 2nd son, was struck dead by a lone lightning bolt under a cloudless sky on his 21st birthday. Connor, the 3rd, was found lifeless in the barn loft. No injury, no illness, just gone. Each death occurred on that cursed milestone, each more inexplicable than the last. By the time it reached Elias Murphy, the 4th son, grief had sharpened into obsession. Refusing to accept mere superstition, Elias scoured county records, poring over old deeds, and sought out whispers of other families tied to Penbrook's dealings. His journal, written in a meticulous hand, spoke of blood contracts, agreements where desperate immigrants traded their descendants' lives for land and fleeting wealth. Of the 5 families who had entered such bargains, only the Murphys remained. As his 21st birthday approached, Elias took desperate measures. Convinced that distance might sever the curse's hold, he fled Ashcroft for Albany, seeking refuge in anonymity. But fate, or perhaps something far older and colder, was not so easily outrun. On the morning of November 2nd, 1881, Elias was found dead in his rented room, seated at a desk with his pen still in hand. His final journal entry read, "The debt claims me now. Michael is next. Forgive me." His death, like those before, left no clues, no injuries, just a vacant vessel where a life had once been. It became chillingly clear. The curse was not tied to place, but to blood. Michael, James, and Brendan, the remaining Murphy sons, grew up under a cloud of inevitable doom. Attempts to sell the farm were thwarted by sudden legal entanglements, mysterious withdrawals from buyers, and a growing sense that unseen hands were tightening their grip. Michael died in 1888, found hanging from the reins of an overturned wagon, though the road was straight and clear. James followed in 1895, crushed beneath an improbably toppled haystack. Each death timed with the precision of a metronome, striking at the very cusp of manhood, ensuring the Murphy name could never endure beyond its promised payment. Brendan, the youngest, bore the weight of generations. He had grown up with funerals as rites of passage, his childhood marked by the meticulous counting of years, dreading the arrival of his own 21st. When 1910 arrived, Brendan refused to meet his fate in silence. He confronted Thomas Penbrook, Aldous' grandson, in a crowded town square, accusing the Penbrook family of orchestrating a generational slaughter to preserve their fortunes. Witnesses recalled Thomas's face draining of color as he muttered, "Some debts are older than us all. You were born to pay." That evening, Brendan was found beneath the ancient oak near the Murphy homestead, seated upright against the trunk, eyes wide open, as if locked in conversation with something unseen. His body bore no wound, no sign of struggle, just silence. With Brendan's death, the Murphy line ended, and so too did the inexplicable string of deaths that had haunted Ashcroft for half a century. The Penbrooks continued to thrive, their estate expanding, their influence unchallenged. Today, the Murphy homestead stands empty, its windows dark, the air around it heavy with a suffocating stillness. Locals say no birds sing there. Some visitors claim to hear whispers beneath the oak tree, voices repeating the same chilling phrase, "The debt is paid." The farmhouse, now a decaying relic, is a grim monument to a family's desperate gamble, one that promised land, prosperity, and security, but demanded its pound of flesh with unwavering precision.